Good evening, friends. It's Chris Angel coming at you for another episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. And tonight we're talking about misfits and outcasts. Yes, misfits and outcasts, which for years I had felt like I didn't belong. I don't know if when I was younger, if I would have thought of myself as a misfit. Definitely felt like an outcast in some ways. But what's interesting is that over time, I feel like our tribe definitely feel like misfits and outcasts. I think we see the world differently than most. And I think we've never really fit into any crowd. We've never been affiliated with any one crowd. I think we're great chameleons. We're great floaters. We can float from one group to the next. And I think part of that for us was a survival mechanism as we were younger. Because we didn't fit, we didn't want to be outcasts, so we learned how to blend in really well. But as we got older in business, I think that shot us in the foot because all of a sudden we didn't want to be different. And so because we didn't want to be different, it actually affected how we marketed. Because if we were going to be authentic and really market our truth, that would require that we step out from the shadows and stop blending in and actually be seen for who we are, right? And so I feel like there's some good news in this, right? There's a massive silver lining in here if you feel like you don't fit in. If you don't feel like you fit with the bell curve of humanity. And that is, here's the truth, ready? I think what I'm discovering is that almost everybody feels like a misfit or an outcast. And we think it's just us. But if we look at like how people try to fit in, I think we just weren't willing to fit in, right? Or we blended, but we weren't willing to sell out. Does that make sense? Like the difference between like, we didn't want to fit in, we blended, but we didn't sell out in order to fit in. Does that make sense? And so versus other people were fine selling out to fit in, right? They bought the clothes they needed to buy to fit in. They said the things they needed to say. They went to the organizations and places they needed to go to fit in. We just weren't willing to sell out for that. But even though they did, maybe in our book, sell out to do that, they still go home at night feeling like that's not who they really are. And so this is what I love about this is this really starts to bring into focus our individuality. We're all individuals. We're all individuals. Now some of us may fit in a tribe better than others, but we're all individuals. So here's what I think you're going to find when you start to realize that every person thinks that they're a misfit or an outcast. All of a sudden, it puts you directly in a position to lead us, to lead the rest of us. So now marketing doesn't represent exposure, right? Or being found out that you're different. Marketing now actually becomes an opportunity to lead, right? So rather than actually being criticized for your difference, you actually get to be celebrated for your difference. And actually, it's not even about being celebrated for your difference. It's just that when you start to put your freak flag on showcase, right? It actually sets others free to fly their own freak flag. Like that's how this works. So you stepping into your misfitness is the very thing that's going to set others free and have them pay attention to what you're saying. Because we're all just afraid that people are judging us. We're all walking around afraid, oh, maybe they're going to judge me, so I should fit in. Maybe they're going to judge me, so I shouldn't say it that way. And when you start to actually just say your truth, people start to feel set free in their own truth. So I'm saying this specifically for those of you who feel like you haven't been able to step out because you feel like you don't fit in. And because you don't fit in, you don't want to say something that would have you be further outcasted in the world. And what I'm saying to you now is that I actually feel like the thing that makes you different is the very thing that people are wanting to hear from you because they feel like they're different also. They're just more closeted in it than you are. They're more trapped in selling out. They're more trapped in the fear of not fitting in than you and I are. We've made a life of being able to float, around in different groups without selling out. But we've also not stepped up to the level we could to say what our truth is. So this is my invitation to you tonight, if you feel like a misfit or an outcast, to start putting the very unique and individualistic thoughts you have on loudspeaker for the world to hear, and watch people support you and thank you for your message. Okay, gang, that's it for tonight's message on marketing for the rest of us. Until tomorrow when I go live again, have a great evening.